Hey everybody, what is going on? Back with Disc Golf Chat. Today we have somewhat a legend in disc golf. I may be downplaying the word legend a little. Nate Sexton. Nate, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here. So much appreciation. Um, we will start at the beginning like we always do, the very basic. How did you get started in disc golf?
My family played ultimate. My parents played competitively when I was like very, very young. So I was throwing ultimate discs, messing around as like a toddler on the sideline of games. And then, came up my whole life playing frisbee with ultimate discs, playing catch on camping trips, playing like informal disc golf to trees and stuff. And then started playing ultimate once I was old enough. And then a disc golf course got put in at the same park where we played ultimate by some people that we kind of knew through the ultimate community a little bit. And that was in 1999. And I started playing right around 2000 when I started like buying discs and taking disc golf a little bit more seriously. As I was already like a frisbee kid, like I identified as like I'm the kid who plays a lot of frisbee. Like that's what people knew me as. So it was a really easy fit for me and my family to take up disc golf and start doing that as well.
That's awesome. I mean, I think the majority of people I've talked to begin with, well, we were in ultimate.
Yeah, sure. If you started long enough ago, that's pretty likely. I think these days there's people that are coming straight into disc golf, but disc golf has grown a lot since 1999.
I think, all right, so that's a great segue. In that time, what do you see? So when you actually got on the pro tour in what year? Like 20.
I played my first pro tournaments in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
After I had won the Junior World Championship in 2003, and then I was fourth at the Amateur World Championship in 2004. And after that, figured it was time to test the waters in pro.
So what's the biggest difference from those days to these days?
Oh man, I mean, there's a lot of them. Good luck finding even any kind of video of a tournament in 2004. Like it just wasn't really done. Even like world championships probably went by without anyone filming anything, because we're talking pre-YouTube, pre-smartphone, obviously way before the pro tour. So the big tournaments were run, by the local clubs in concert with the PDGA if it was going to be on the national tour, which the national tour only started in like 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So, totally different world. It was a smaller group of players for sure, way less courses, way less prestigious tournaments, but still a lot of passionate people and still a lot of talented players. We had a healthy disc golf scene in Oregon where we had our Oregon Series events, and I kind of came up playing those. And yeah, but as far as differences, there's more differences than there are similarities in a lot of ways, I think.
Mm-hmm. Now I've heard that like Oregon is kind of a hotbed, but it's not like a well-known hotbed.
I don't know. I mean, we've had elite tournaments for a long time. They had the World Championship in 2014. I think they're bidding for a World Championship again pretty soon here in the future. There's some great courses in Oregon. Portland is a pretty vibrant disc golf city with a lot of courses and a big club, an active club. I think Oregon's a nice place to play disc golf for sure.
I mean, I always hear Emporia. Yeah, that's huge. I hear a lot of Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte has exploded.
Yep.
Let's see. Your junior worlds. Who was anyone else of note that we would know now that played in that junior worlds that you won?
Oh man,
that's a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of the guys had like a little bit of pro careers. I got a Canadian guy named Kim Scott Wood who played in a couple USDGCs, but it's been quite a few years since he's been on the scene. some guys who now I think are involved in owning and running OTB discs were there as like 14-year-olds. But yeah, it was a pretty small tournament. I mean, I think there was 29 kids there. This was in Canada, and it was a standalone Junior Worlds, which they haven't done that many times. Usually it's, it run in concert with the Amateur Worlds. Lately, Emporia has kind of had this standalone Junior Worlds, but now you're talking about 500 kids or whatever. We had 29, 0 females. So it was a different animal than what it is now with, like 100 kids in the under 19. Like I probably had like 12 people I was playing against. So it was an awesome trip. It was right after I had graduated high school, flew there with my dad. We brought our camping stuff. We got a rental car, drove up there, and we're camping out and playing the tournament. And yeah, it was kind of an interesting thing because I didn't have a whole lot of expectations. I didn't really know what I was getting into, but then to be able to win and play well, kind of gave me confidence to keep pursuing disc golf and feeling like maybe I have a decent shot to, play at a really high level.
Was there anyone you looked up to on the pro tour before you actually got on the tour?
Yeah, absolutely. Ken Climo and Barry Schultz, for sure. I had DVDs that I could watch them, even VHSs. If you go far enough back, I would get those for Christmas sometimes, like a VHS or a DVD of the Worlds. I had the 2003 playoff at USDGC on DVD. So I would watch that playoff and just be, blown away at the skill and the clutch shots those guys were making. And then Dave Felberg and Avery Jenkins moved to Eugene, Oregon to go to college at the University of Oregon, also around 2003. So I met them as like, maybe one of the top amateurs in the state at the time and kind of a young up and coming player and made contact with them, started hanging out and playing golf with them a little bit. And then, ultimately competing at like local B tiers and stuff as a pro the next year. And the second pro tournament I ever played was at my home course, and Avery won and I got second and Dave got third. And then I was kind of like, all right, like these guys are the guys, these are some of the best players. And I just finished right in between them. Granted, it was at my home course, but then I had already taken 7th place at the Beaver State Fling, I think, in my pro debut. And at that time, like $300 was like more than my rent. So like winning, I was like really motivated as like whatever 19-year-old, like, man, this is awesome. I can like go play my favorite sport and make my rent money. And, I was in college at the time and playing on the ultimate team for the Oregon State Beavers. But I just kind of kept getting better at disc golf and kept wanting to go and travel around and play more tournaments.
So, all these years later, do you still have that same passion for it?
It's changed. I think like I love disc golf, and I think my favorite disc golf to play is I play it. I like it more for the social aspect now, and hanging with my friends, and throwing great shots is always going to be thrilling and really fun. I don't have the same like I'm going to go play 3 rounds today by myself, or with whoever shows up, and just try to play and add skills to my toolbox. And I'm not in the part of my career that feels like I'm trying to climb up anymore. Now I'm just kind of enjoying where I am and, playing golf when I can and, getting out to the tour as much as I can. But I would say I still have a lot of passion for disc golf, but it feels different than the passion of like a young up and coming player who was like trying to prove myself. Yeah.
I mean, you've got the reputation and like the respect that, I can't imagine anyone not just having just tons of respect for you out there.
Thank you.
Just just the way you play. You're one of those people that if you throw a bad shot, you really can't tell.
I try. Sometimes I'll let you know, or you'll probably know just because this guy about 300 feet away is waving a red flag. That's how you know I threw a bad shot.
Not one, but touche.
Yeah.
You spoke of the veterans, Climo, Schultz. By the way, seeing Schultz play this past weekend, I did not think I would ever see that, and I thought that was the coolest. By the way,
he still got it.
Yeah. And I met Avery, by the way, since you just mentioned him as well, and I was like, he's a lot bigger than I thought he was.
Yeah, he's a huge guy. I mean, he was like the distance king, kind of when I came up. He was like the guy that everyone would think of as the guy who would throw the over the top, kind of the pre Simon Lizotte, but he was the guy throwing those crazy lines and kind of blowing your mind with what he would attempt.
That's awesome. But speaking of those guys, how long did it take you to maybe be accepted by the veterans on tour?
Oh, I don't think very long at all. I mean, certainly some joking around and some being the new guy and, just kind of giving each other trash talk and whatever. Like there was plenty of that. And that continues today. And I think that's pretty normal in no matter what you're doing. Whoever the new guy is, you're kind of giving them a little bit of a hard time. But everyone was always welcoming at the end of the day to me. And I think it's like we were all pretty similar guys, all kind of chasing the same dream. And they were always pretty happy to like offer me space in a hotel room or whatever it was to help me get to, the next big tournament or the next big opportunity for me.
That's another thing I was going to ask. Was there players that, like, I'm not going to say actively just said, hey, do you need anything? But was there if you had questions?
Yeah, I think Felberg and Jenkins would probably be the guys that were like the most, reaching out, saying, hey, you want to stay with us for the USDGC? Do you want to go to Japan with us? Stuff like that, where I would have somebody who'd been there before, going on the flight with them, whatever, as I was, in my early 20s or late teens, and having somebody to kind of say, oh yeah, here's where we go to get on the bus to get to here, or whatever it was, this is what we do when we get over here. This is where the course is, just some knowledge about the courses as well. As we played practice rounds, they would be pretty open about what they thought was, a pitfall that people fell into on a certain hole, or just sharing stories and experience as they had played all these courses, a time or two at least before I ever showed up there. So those are the two guys I would say that were the most, welcoming to me, partly because they live just 45 minutes down the road. So, we'd be flying out of the same airports, going to the same places. So they were helpful for sure.
That's awesome to hear. Because I've always wondered if there was like, I don't want to say hazing, but not helping. It's great to hear that there's players out there that even though they're at the top competing for those top prizes, they're still like, hey, you might not want to try this shot.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think people are pretty good like that. Like I can't think of anybody who's like playing it so close to the vest that they wouldn't tell another player about a good idea or, warn them about a thing that they think is dangerous about a shot that they're taking. I think everybody's pretty helpful out there on the tour. And then, once the tournament starts, obviously now you're competing and you want to win, but you want to do it on just the merit of your own game, not because, you like sneakily let somebody fall into a trap they didn't know about, or if they didn't understand the rules of a hole or something. I think everyone would be pretty quick to straighten somebody out and make sure they have the knowledge they need to compete at their best.
What do you think about, because you just mentioned the rules, and I'm one of those people that I hear something, I'm like, oh, that made me think of this.
Yeah.
But like rules, how difficult is it to enforce rules, as in, calling somebody?
Oh, man. It's super difficult, to the point that I think the culture of professional disc golf, and I'm fine with this, is like not that particular about the rules. And I think that can sometimes infuriate the fans who don't really understand, like step up and call it, but I think the thing to understand is like a foot fault 600 feet away from the basket with zero intent to gain advantage, I just don't really care. And I'm so busy watching the disc. I'm not like, I don't have my binoculars on your feet when you're trying to make a shot. I'm interested to see what's he going to do. How's this shot? Is he really going to go over the water from here? I'm like a fan in those moments, just like anybody else. I'm thinking about my next shot, but I'm more concerned with, hey, wow, where did that go out of bounds? Or is that going to make it over the water? Or is he really going to go for that tiny gap? So I don't think you see that many calls on the Pro Tour because we're not trying to prevent, like, we're trying to prevent cheating. If anybody's trying to cheat, they're going to get called quick.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody makes a honest, harmless mistake from 500 feet from the basket, I think it's unlikely you're going to see that called. I think it's unlikely that the players even notice it in a lot of situations because we're so busy with our own game. And then you have this, obviously you're in a small club, right? You're going to be playing against the same people the next week and the next week and the next week. It's not like a local B tier or a B tier the next state over where you might meet like half new guys. Like on the Pro Tour, it's the same guys every time.
Yep.
So you don't want, it's a quick way to put yourself on the outside looking in. If you had the reputation of a guy who wants to call a bunch of ticky-tack little violations and is like watching everybody's feet like a hawk. Nobody wants to hang out with that guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the rules are obviously important, but I think I like that we're self-officiated in large part in that we're allowed to explore some gray areas and play kind of a quote unquote gentleman's game and, leave it a little bit into our interpretation. If somebody takes 35 seconds and they're in a tough spot in the woods, there isn't one person in the world who's making that call because it's like, nah, I'm going to be in the woods on the next hole. Sometimes it's not possible to throw in 30 seconds when you're in a tough situation. So I would say in general, it is tough to call rules and I'm happy that it is that way.
So Brody Smith said one time, he was like, you could call foot fault on every hole, but then you make yourself a target. He's like,
sure.
why do that?
And what are you, what world are you trying to live in? It's like, that's what I think when somebody is really aggressive about 30 seconds. The end of that rainbow is a world where every time you go in the woods and it takes you 17 seconds to even kind of put your mini down and get in there, it's pretty ambiguous as to when the 30 seconds starts, right? It's your turn. The fairway's clear, get in there and throw. If you take that to its end point of being super vigilant about every little rule, disc golf isn't that fun. I think in that world where everybody's being watched super close and it's a bunch of violations and stroke penalties and ends up just taking forever, all the arguing you would have. I mean, obviously that's not anything anyone wants to watch or be a part of.
Someone just told me that they do not see the stream up and it should be going live. Why is it not?
Ooh, that'd be weird.
That would be.
It says live in the corner of my screen.
I see why. It's live now.
All right, sweet.
I was wondering, it's like, why is no one watching? Oh, I accidentally had it set on private. That's on me. That's on me. The first 18 minutes, no one saw.
Yeah, well, they can watch it later on YouTube, right? I mean,
they actually cannot.
Oh, no.
Well, I will say this. We had a great conversation, but
yeah,
we're not starting over. We're just going to keep going with the flow.
Sweet. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, I can let you know what happened. Oh, my gosh. I am pretty, but I'm not smart. Another thing I was thinking about is like the generation when you came up. Not like 1 year, but over a few years. You came out, Big Germ, Yuli, Paul Macbeth, Matty O, Nico, Will Schusterick.
Sure.
I mean, and I'm not all the same year, obviously, but in kind of a group. And then it seemed like there was I'm not going to say a dead era by any stretch, but not a lot of these top tier names that we heard about, maybe up until Calvin came along. Oh, you know what? I forgot. Gosh, how did I forget? Ricky. Ricky was in that group as well.
Yeah, of course.
But now it feels like we have a new era of just amazing talent comes out. And do you kind of see like any kind of correlation where like history repeating itself where y'all came out and now where this new group is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's anything actually happening. It's interesting how we kind of want to put it in groups and like sort of bookend like this was this era or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but like there's quite a few years, in between some of those players you're mentioning in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
when they debuted and when they kind of found their peak as a player. And there's been great players added, literally almost every year. There's
Yep.
somebody who's kind of popping up and playing really well. But no question that the current crop of guys, under 25 years old are phenomenal. And there's some really, really good and incredibly, hungry and well-rounded players on the tour right now that are in their early 20s or even in their teens.
Mm-hmm.
So those guys are going to be incredible to watch for a long time. But I don't think they've got too much breathing room in terms of, the next man up and who's going to be blowing our minds in a couple of years. Is going to be somebody whose name we haven't even really heard yet, would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree that, there you can kind of split it up however you want and put the lines, in between. And there was a lot of great players that I was competing with when I was young, but I think these new guys have even more in their toolboxes and even more incredible skill set.
When you came up, did you have to have both forehand and backhand?
I don't know if you have to, and I guess I don't know for sure if you have to now either. Like, I think the backhand on the right courses, I don't think you can really get it done all forehand. There just isn't really the flip up mid range ability. The forehand has such a lower RPM. You
Mm-hmm.
can't really like throw like a beautiful Mako 350 feet that like flips late. Like nobody really does that with the forehand.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Isaac, James Conrad, they obviously have a get out of jail forehand, but they're basically doing what they do all backhand effectively.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's still possible, but I think it's an advantage clearly to have both spins and command over both spins and be able to throw as many hyzers as possible because hyzers are just easier.
Mm-hmm.
The turnover is really important as well for ground play and for making a break point that's a little different than what a hyzer is capable of. But yeah, I think it's important to have as many shots as possible. But I guess I still think you could probably get it done all backhand if you're an Isaac or a James Conrad type of player with a extremely versatile and technically skilled backhand.
Wait, James has a forehand?
Sure. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he could throw probably a pretty sweet one, but he doesn't really, it's not his go-to. He's not.
It's not his bread and butter, that's for sure.
But he
it's
can
just,
do it.
Yeah, I guess I mean, it seems like every time he throws the forehand, everybody's like, "Hold on."
Of course, yeah, we do that to Isaac too, but Isaac's starting to throw him so good, we're gonna have to shut up pretty soon because it's kind of like, yeah, okay, he does this. Like we've kind of done that act of like, oh my god, he's doing it like probably 15 times now, and they've mostly been pretty positive shots. He's throwing some good forehands out there.
That's actually what I meant to ask him about when I had him. Was like, was there anything you want to work on? And I have a feeling forehand might be it because he is, man, just so well rounded.
Yeah, for sure.
So just technically proficient.
Yes.
Let's go back to your 2017, the USDGC. I was just down there for the first time, and I will tell you, walking from the parking lot, I walked past 14, and the holes to me, they were like celebrities.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had to look like the dumbest person because I had this stupid grin on my face from 14 walking. Then you see 50. Oh, there's that Mando. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's different in person. It's,
Yeah.
It's like you've seen the holes. You kind of know the holes from videos, but it's cool to see them in person and go, oh, wow, it really is pretty far to that Mando, or that looks smaller than I thought it would, or man, that hole is long. It just gives you a much richer sense of the place, and it helps you understand the memories you have of all these championships that you probably watched on YouTube or wherever you saw them.
Yeah, I mean, it was like every hole. I'm like, I remember this shot here. I remember this shot here. It was like ghosts out there.
Yeah.
Just visions. But tell me about your victory there, because I watched the final round the other day. I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
many changes too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was obviously the biggest win of my life. The 2015 USDGC, the year that Paul Macbeth had, many would say is the greatest season ever and had the major Grand Slam. I had 3-shot lead with 18 holes to go over Ricky and Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And some rain blew in. And Paul beat me by a healthy 14 shots in the final round. And I took 4th place. I totally imploded and fell apart. And I was pretty heartbroken at the moment. I was proud that Paul, he was my touring partner. We had played the entire year together. I was proud to have a front row seat to all those practice rounds and, to be there for every one of those moments as he, had the greatest season of all time. And it was cool that he got the Grand Slam. And I jokingly was saying, yeah, Innova called me and told me to take the fall because, Grand Slam and all this stuff. But no, it hurt pretty bad to have a 3-shot lead at a major and end up 4th. And then in 2017, I had a 3-shot lead again after 3 rounds. But this time it was only Wysocki, not Macbeth, behind me. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, well, that's good. At least it's not both of them. So maybe this time I can, I can do something. And I was as determined as ever. At that point I had my RV. I had my daughter about 6 months old, a little less than that, actually. She probably would have been 4 months old. And we were, living in the RV and traveling around. My wife was off of medical school for the year with our brand new daughter. And so I felt about as comfortable as I'd ever felt on the road because I didn't have this push and pull of like, man, I need to be back. How's my wife doing in medical school? I'd call her. Obviously, she's super stressed out all the time. There wasn't really much I could have been doing about that at home, but you still felt, the push and the pull of that. And, I didn't have the kind of success that I have now and where I could have just flown back, whenever. Like there was a stretch with Paul where I didn't see my wife for 15 weeks. And I was just out on the road with him, just tournament, which was awesome. And was the reason I ever got good enough to have the success that I have in a lot of ways. I was a good player already, but I didn't become a truly great player, I think, until I spent that extended time on the tour playing week in and week out against everybody. Mm-hmm. But yeah, had them with me. Ricky bogeyed the first hole. I birdied it. So then I had 5 strokes. Then Ricky bogeyed hole 3 and I birdied it. So then I had 7 strokes. And then I have a pretty clear memory of going, this is the best chance anybody's ever had. You're up 7 shots and there's 15 holes left. If you can't close the deal here, you're never going to close the deal. Is kind of what I was telling myself. Like, this is the moment. Not even Macbeth is holding 7-shot leads in majors. This is like a very rare thing to be that far clear of the whole field. And I played great that day. I don't think I ever went out of bounds, and so it's not possible for Ricky to catch me if I'm not going out of bounds. Mm-hmm. And I had a few really important clutch shots that stick in my mind. Putting it on the sand on the beach hole, which has traditionally been kind of a nightmare hole for me, because through that course, I'm basically only throwing forehands, and then you show up to hole 6 and you haven't thrown a backhand in probably an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And if you throw it a little bit weak, you're in the water every time. So threw a Thunderbird there, got it on the beach. That felt like a big moment for me. Had a really risky second shot on hole 13 after a poor drive where I could have laid up, but I decided to stay aggressive and nailed like a 400-plus foot forehand past some OB to set up an easy birdie. So then, yeah, I was kind of, got through that middle section, which is kind of the make or break section of that course without casualty, played a few holes safe, which was prudent with the lead that I had, and was able to pick up birdies on, I think, 15 and 16 to where it was like, make the island and you win, and I was able to do that through a firm shot, got on the island. And that was kind of the moment I knew, I had done it, because, we've seen guys take 7s and 8s coming down the stretch on that hole with the lead. So that nightmare was certainly playing in my head. I didn't need a birdie, thankfully, and that makes that hole so much easier. When you don't have the temptation of trying to make birdie on the 17th, you can really play it right. So I did that. I remember, clapping and knowing I wasn't like ready to smile yet, but I pretty much knew I had won, because I probably had 5 or 6 shots on Ricky with just 18 to go. And I think he even went out of bounds on the tee shot on 18. So then I really had almost no pressure on me. And I'm so thankful that I was able to, have my wife and daughter there with me. It would have been cool. My dad had caddied for me the year before in 16 when we had the hurricane cancellation and Big Germ won. It would have been awesome. That'd be the only thing I'd probably change if I could change something about it. I had a great caddy. Shout out to Rico, who caddied for me that year that I won. But it would have been cool to have my dad on the bag in 17 as well, and my wife and daughter there. And, obviously all my friends are there. Most of my friends are on the tour. So everybody was super happy for me. And, I'd been a pro disc golfer for a long time, for already 13 years at that point.
Wow.
And, that was a moment that sort of validated all the choices I had made, where, there were plenty of times where I came to a fork in the road that was like, man, I should probably use my college degree and get a job and get a retirement account and like start being 30 or, or whatever, 27, like start taking care of stuff. Like I'm doing okay, but I'm chasing a dream that may or may not, pan out for me. And there were plenty of times where I was quite close to like kind of going, okay, I'm a weekend warrior. I'm not getting rid of my discs, but I'm not a tour player. I have a job now. I'm going to just take care of stuff and be a regular guy. And man, I mean, in hindsight, how lucky it is that I stayed the course, but that story could have gone another way quite easily, where I never really got a win and never really prepared for my future. And then you're kind of like playing catch up all through your 30s and 40s, trying to set yourself up for a comfortable retirement and a stress-free later part of your life, ideally, so having that win kind of took a weight off my shoulders in a way where I didn't really think like, maybe I should have done something else, because then I was US champion. Then I had that feather in my cap and I had that achievement that, I would rank as the biggest achievement of my life.
Now, I'm going to say something that might be blasphemy to some people, but being down there and then being at Worlds this year in Lynchburg, which is, both courses within 10 miles of my house. So, I've been, Ivy, you can't really go to because it's a golf course, but I've been to these courses and being down there, and I'm just like, for me, that is the tournament. I just think USDGC with the history, with the all the people that have been on that course, that to me, and for me, would be the tournament I would want to win.
Yeah, sure. I don't think you'll even get that much pushback on that, honestly. Obviously, the World Championship is the most valuable win in our sport.
Right.
It looks the best to print on a disc and say World Champion, because people that don't know what the heck it is, that means greatest player in the world, right? You can move some discs by writing World Champion. I think US Champion obviously has a lot of weight behind it as well. But, I think the USDGC is like the Masters in that it has all this history.
That's exactly what I thought.
It has history. It has this ambiance around it. Innova has done an amazing job building it up. It's not the most beautiful property you ever saw. There's parking lots. But Winthrop is a gracious host and has allowed us to be there for so many years. And, I think this was the 31st major held on those grounds.
Oh, wow.
If you include college championships, and they had a world championship way back in maybe 97 or something like that. Way back, there was a worlds there. And obviously now 26 USDGCs or something like that. So it's it's got the richest history of any piece of land in the sport of disc golf, without a doubt, because you've got all these champions and all these stories and all these incredible shots year after year after year.
What do you think about because you were talking about on hole 18, and when I watched it the other day, I was like, wow, okay, they put the pin for the final day in the middle of the fairway.
Yep.
Because when you threw that shot, because on the post coverage I watched, you were like, you were walking to it and you're like, oh, I forgot they put it in the other position.
Yeah. Oh, did I say that? Yeah. They had it like, they do that. They're always experimenting at the USDGC. And that year we played, I think, that short pin on day 1 and day 4, and we played the regular pin the other days, just to kind of change it up and put a par 3. They probably didn't like that result because they haven't done it since. It was just that one thing. But It was cool for me because it was hard to imagine taking a 10 on the short position. It's pretty
Mhm,
hard to imagine taking a 10 on the long. But like
mhm.
at the lead I had it, that was kind of the number you were trying to avoid, like a triple OB 3-putt nightmare, and you'd be surprised how your legs and your hand feel when you're about to win a major. It didn't feel like
Mhm,
I was real steady on my feet. I'll say
mhm.
that. Like I felt kind of like, oh, whoa, like the
The jelly
gravity of it
legs.
all is kind of setting in. And I was happy to be able to have a lead where I could just lay up a little short thing and
Mhm.
tap it in and make sure that I took care of business.
I think you said on it you were not gonna, putt unless it was inside, the bullseye.
Yeah, yeah, I
Wasn't it?
remember telling my caddy that. So yeah, I ended up laying up about a 18 footer, maybe. I'm
Mhm.
not sure.
Yeah,
And Ricky, I remember Ricky was surprised. Like I was like going to my disc, and he's like, "No, no, let us putt out first." Like he
yeah,
didn't want me to like win the tournament and have
yeah.
them still have to putt. And I
Mhm,
was like, "Nah, don't worry, man. I'm just gonna lay up." Like I didn't. I was up by a bunch, and I felt like obviously I'm gonna win, but I don't want to win by like hitting the rim and rolling OB and
yep.
taking my meter and laying up and now winning by 2. Like I was still gonna win, but I just wanted that moment to be uh, as fun as it could be. And I don't know. I just made that deal with myself. I had the strokes, so I was like, no, I don't need to try 18-footer downhill with a tall basket and a little bit of OB behind it.
Mhm,
Uh, Up 6. Like I don't care if I win by 6 or 5.
mhm. So, when I was there, the first thing I noticed as far as changes to that course was hole 3.
Yeah.
Um, when I was walking up that road beside hole 3, and I remember seeing the tee pad, I was like, "That doesn't look right. Something looks wrong about that."
Yeah.
And later on, I realized it's like, oh, it was on the other side because I remember y'all throwing across that road.
Yep.
Are there any changes to that course you kind of like? I kind of wish I hadn't have done that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, give me the old 2, the old 3, and the old 4 back. I used to birdie those holes like crazy, and
Hmm.
I hardly ever get birdies on them now. I've been, I've got a birdie this year on number 3, which was a surprise to me. And I got 2 birdies on 4, which, so I guess I'm doing all right. Um, but hole 2, I play for 3. Like hole
Hmm.
2 that now is so hard. And it used to be a good hole for me because it used to really favor backhand roller and forehand approach. And those are 2 of my strengths.
Hmm.
Now it's asking for like flip up, like soft landing backhand, but like 420 feet away with a low ceiling. And you have to
Hmm.
land it without a lot of skip energy. And that is not my strength at all, to throw it that far and land it like a little feather.
Hmm.
So there's guys that can do that, and awesome, they're getting birdies, but I'm not that. I'm not getting them. So yeah, no, I would love to see a couple of the old holes back. I think it would improve my chances. And at the end of the day, my favorite thing is getting birdies. So holes that let me do that are holes that I probably am going to like.
Now, watching it on TV, hole 2, and then being there, it's totally different than I thought it was.
Mm,
I thought it was kind of an uphill. Then that little building on the left.
yep.
I thought you tried to land just past that, and then it turned to the right.
Oh, you're talking about the old hole too?
I mean, was it different?
Well, it was a par 4 for the longest time, where
Yeah.
we were teeing from where the FPOs tee now,
Right.
and the basket was quite a bit farther. So
Hmm.
you would throw like a backhand roller, a low backhand, and then you
Hmm.
could throw. There was no mandatory. Then you could throw forehand, skip off the gravel,
Hmm.
or you could throw a backhand down the other side. So it was slightly different, but it never was a hard right turn. No, that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was on TV. I always thought it. You
Yeah,
went up there. You try to be to the right of that building,
yeah,
and out in the open. And then I thought it turned. When I was there, I was like, it's just straight up a hill.
yeah. Pretty much straight.
So I thought that was fascinating. When I was up there, I was like, wow, that looks so different than I thought it was.
Yeah, that's a fun experience when you
Mhm.
you feel like you know a place through video, and then when you get to actually walk it, it's cool to see how many different places surprise you. Because I bet it was over 10 times where you're like, really, that's where that is. Even though you could draw me a map of the course and it would be fairly accurate from just
Mhm.
knowing it from video, seeing it in person and seeing how tight some of those OBs are. I think it helps put an exclamation point on the incredible shots that you can remember, from years past.
Yes. Whole I'm doing the math now. It's
Yeah.
13. I think it's 13.
Where you throw over the big mound.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
when you won,
Yep.
you were right there beside the road,
Yep.
the parking
Yep.
lot.
Yeah, the over the mound thing is pretty recent, and that's
Mhm.
another change I don't like. The over
I
the
don't
mound
like that
shot
at
is
all.
really weird. I think I prefer the old versions of that hole where we would
Mhm.
throw, just a kind of a normal tee shot.
Mhm. What about when they used to have the pin on that hole, like on the park, like across the parking lot, where
Yep.
people would skip
Oh
off the
yeah,
road?
yeah. I played it that way for at least 10 years.
Mhm.
I think where it was over there, and it was fun. It was a
Mhm.
cool risk reward shot. It was kind of a boring green in that there was like 0 trees out there,
Yep.
but it was a cool hole and certainly the site of some serious meltdowns. People taking 9s and 10s.
I could be wrong, but I think Eagle had a really blow up on that hole one time.
Oh, I bet he did. I think Ken Climo, Barry Schultz, a lot of
Mhm.
those guys have fallen victim there at times.
Wow. Is there anything that changed you look at and you go, I'm glad they did that?
Absolutely. There's a lot of cool stuff they've done. I'd say I like more than I don't like. I
Mhm.
think hole 7 used to be just like a bamboo wall, no mandatories, too easy, I think.
Mhm.
Hole 1 used to be too easy. Now they have the rocks, the log, the mandos. Like it's just getting sneakily more difficult all the time. Uh, Let's see. Hole 5, adding the mandatory is awesome. Not letting people play around the outside for the safe par, forcing the water carry. So cool for the spectators to see
Mhm.
that and make every single player attack over the water. It's a long list. I think I'm in favor of most of the things they do out there.
Yeah. I didn't actually get to walk on hole 1 because I got to be with a practice run with my friend Shelly May Lai. So I got to walk the course with her. And gosh, it's so different.
Yeah.
And actually walking on the course as the being where the spectator ropes are. So that was so cool.
Yeah.
Um, so now hole 3, do you prefer that little downhill par 3 going across the road? 'Cause I stood up there on that because I finally found it day 4 where the tee pad was, and I had to do a little video of where it was. I was like, man, I love that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll take that hole back for sure. I like that hole. 375 downhill, some hazard, some OB. Nice time to reach in the bag, grab your Firebird, and go to work.
Which I have never thrown a Sexton
Oh
Firebird.
man, big mistake.
I can never find one. I will tell you, but when I first started playing back in like 2005, 2007, someone there, we went to play it against Sports and One Friends. Just grab a driver, a mid, and a putter. It's all you need. And I was like, so what do these numbers mean? He's like, you don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, sure.
So
You
the first one, I was like, I love the look of the Firebird back in the day. And
uh-huh.
unfortunately, 2 years ago, I lost it in a pond. I was like,
Oh man,
such a great
time
disc.
for a new one.
Yes, I got to find one. What do you think about the new hole 4? Yeah, that narrow gap hole 4.
Oh, I get what they're trying to do, but I
Mhm.
find it's a little weird feeling, to
Mhm.
just kind of have the mandatory keeping you in the trees in a wide open field. But it's a
Mhm.
cool, how else are you going to let 1,000 people, 2,000 people watch, woods golf? That's
Mhm.
probably the way to do it. And it feels a little weird. It's kind of odd that like hitting a tree and kicking out of the fairway to the left is like kind of the best thing that could happen to you.
Mhm.
Because now you have an absolutely simple shot. If you kick right, you're in more trouble.
Mhm.
And generally in the woods, kick left or right, you're in trouble, because it's
Mhm.
probably bad rough. But you can't really have bad rough at the top level of disc golf if you're trying to sell tickets and bring in a couple thousand people and expect them
Mhm.
to have a good time watching
Mhm.
that lead card. So I understand what they're trying to do. Maybe it'll start to grow on us as players and as we see more of that. But it feels a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, it felt out of place for me
Yep.
because I mean, you're walking over here, then it's like hole 5's over here, but you're walking way over there
Yep.
in this narrow little gap. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
tough shot though to
It is
thread that
absolutely.
needle, but it's a fun hole.
Yeah.
Hole 5. I think when you won it, the tee pad was over almost like in the middle of the water.
Yeah, on the dock. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a really cool iteration of that hole because you had to
Mhm.
do 2 water carries. Probably played slightly harder than it plays now.
Mhm.
Um, But yeah, we've had 3 different tee pads for hole 5, and they've all been fun. I mean, if you got a lake like that with a green on the other side, I mean, you really can't mess that up. That's going to be pretty compelling.
Where was the other one?
In between the two, like near the water, near the water, but on the side of the land.
Oh, I did not know that one.
Yeah, we did that one for a year or 2, maybe.
Did they move the Mando on that one from last year to this year, like in front of that tree on the corner?
No, it's always been right about there in my memory.
So I remember Gannon, I think, hit it last year.
Yeah, he missed it when we were playing together last year. He tried to throw a big hyzer, kind of late released it, and sort of a mistake you would never expect. I'm sure he didn't even consider that could happen, but he just kind of got the little bit of late release and ended up missing it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's done okay for himself.
Yeah, for sure. I think he figured it out.
Gosh, I could talk about that course for days. I love that course so much. What did you think about Lynchburg? The courses. I know you came up here a couple years ago when Paul first opened up.
Yep.
New London.
Yep.
You had a grocery bag of discs.
Yep. Yeah, I came to do some clinics with them and didn't bring my full bag. I enjoyed my time in Lynchburg, though. I thought the courses were fun. I thought it's a nice hilly area. I thought there was a good number of fans, excited people. We got some great champions out of the whole thing. And I thought it was an exciting and well-run World Championships for sure. Yeah,
I mean, I couldn't have been happier with how everything went. I was so happy. And I see that next year they'll have the Tour Championship up here.
Yep, that's cool.
I'm a little upset that they won't be playing in New London, though.
Yeah, sure. But I think, again, it's a spectator decision. Trying to give people the best experience and make sure they can actually watch golf.
Oh, no. I mean, the part of the course is going to be taken out.
Oh, that too. But I think also, I bet you they would probably prefer to have it out somewhere where they can control access a little bit easier, bigger parking lot. Every box is in favor of Ivy Hill when you think about it from a spectator's perspective, other than the fact that, if you had the perfect spot to watch, you'd probably prefer to see people carve up the woods. But you're talking about only like 30 people can actually get a good view of what's going on.
That's absolutely true. What did you think about the OB and stuff at that course at
Ivy?
Ivy.
Oh, it's brutal. Sometimes too tight, but they do that all the time everywhere we go. So there was a few holes that I didn't like, but that's every course I've ever played. I'm always going to have some notes, and that doesn't mean I'm right. It's just my preference. So a couple of them I thought were a little too punishing, but overall I thought it was a pretty fun design. I liked all the hills. I liked the big distance that you got to play with, and some risk reward plays. Didn't like hole 17. I don't know if anybody did. I think hole 17 was way too. There's not enough room on the backside. Like once you get it across the water, you're just OB right away. So I didn't think that hole played very well. I thought kind of lucky bad shots were the ones that birdied.
Yeah, like ricocheted off a tree.
Yeah, I birdied it twice, and the only times I birdie it is when I skip off the water. If I throw it over clean, I'm OB. So I thought that was kind of stupid. But not ideal to have a hole like that right at the end of a world championship, in my opinion. That's so reliant on kind of like a weird root bounce to keep you from going out of bounds. But overall, good place to play disc golf. Happy we got the chance to play there.
And Worlds next year will be in Finland. So let's talk about the differences between like European, not only disc golf spectators to American. I know you said also you played in Japan.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong because I mistake a lot. Did you play in Australia too?
I haven't yet. I had the ticket bought once, but I didn't end up doing it. It was just going to be too expensive at the time, I think.
Okay.
I mean, that Finland Worlds, that stretch in Estonia and Finland next year with 2 majors, I think is going to be the biggest disc golf tournaments of all time. Like, I think it's going to be the most exciting, most intense disc golf tournaments we've ever seen, because the fans there are super passionate. They're so honored and excited to finally get the chance to host the Worlds, and it's long overdue. As passionate as Finland has been and as great as European Opens consistently are, I'm thrilled for that event team to have the chance to pull out all the stops and show us everything they got and try to, blow our minds with the world championships. And Estonia blew our minds last year. Like, they did things we've never even seen with the smoke machines and the video boards and all this announcing, and it felt incredible. And they're just going to go bigger, because now they got a major. So in my opinion, that's going to be the two of the biggest, most exciting, most incredible disc golf tournaments in the history of disc golf. I would say, if you have the means and you ever thought about taking a vacation over to Finland, book it for next year, because that is going to be incredible to watch.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to that. Are they was it the European Disc Golf Festival? Which place was that? Was that in Estonia?
Yeah, that's right. And it will be again, but it's going to be a major this time.
Oh man, I when I saw that this year, I think last year as well, when they have them come out announcing and stuff like that, and they go back up and stuff. Oh gosh.
Yeah, this year was the first year of it, with all that with all that fanfare, and it was so cool. And they told me that their budget's even bigger for next year. So it's only going to get even more crazy.
That's so awesome. I told people that one thing I would love to see, especially in America, is really just for majors, is that at the end of the tournament have a physical podium.
Yeah, that'd
be
the cool.
Top three to stand on.
Yeah, nice for the pictures. They definitely were nailing that in Estonia. They had the fireworks going in the background, and the guys with their trophy, the girls with their trophies. It was awesome.
See, I think that would be special because if you're going for third place, a lot of people just like, I'm not winning, whatever. But I just feel like if you got that little carrot,
sure,
being on the podium, I feel like it would be better. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
not for everything, just for those top tier
for the big ones. Yeah, I'm on your side on this.
Woohoo! All right, let's go to commentating. The first time I remember seeing you was probably on a Skins game. I remember Paul, Simon. I know Paige was on that one.
And yeah, where was this? I'm trying to remember.
I honestly don't remember.
Okay, well,
I remember on one of the par threes, it's got a rock right near the pin, and Simon threw this one that was
Vermont.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I did commentary way before that, but yeah,
I'm saying that's the first time I remember seeing it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I started a long time before that, but that was a cool match. Doing it live on the course is always fun. I haven't done that many times. That's like during Champs versus Chumps or that event where we actually have the mics and we're walking around commentating it live. I did some commentary super long time ago for some Oregon tournament that called the Rose City Open that went like straight to DVD. That was probably like 2008. That was maybe the first time I like tried calling golf. Then I think working with Central Coast was the next time that I did a couple jobs where I would work with Ian Anderson and do some commentary after the fact for tournaments that I had played in. And then the opportunity to work with Jomez was pretty awesome for me. And, started out doing that with Macbeth or whoever else early on. I did the 2016 Worlds for them. That's the first time I ever got paid for commentary. And I remember that being like a mind-blowing thing. Like, really, you guys are going to pay me? Because before that, it was just all for fun and for the exposure and for, helping disc golf reach a wider audience and making a video record of what had happened on a given weekend. But yeah, then they offered to pay me, and then the rest is history, I guess. Started working with Jomez pretty consistently and still doing some stuff with Central Coast occasionally. And now with DGN, doing the live work with Nate Doss and Terry Miller has been really fun.
Now you do a great job on the live stuff. You add, what I like about what you do is you're not over the top, but you put got that seasoning you put in there and kind of like a good perspective on stuff. It's not too much either way, because sometimes people go a little too far one way or the other. But I love your stuff. So good.
Thank you.
Champs versus Chumps. How much fun do you have with that? Because it seems like you are having a blast on that.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I like trash talk, and to think that somehow this little series got invented where people are paying money to show up, and what they want me to do is insult them. It's like, it's so funny, and just kind of trying to walk that line between like, I never want to hurt anyone's feelings. I want them to be able to laugh too. And I think I tend to do a pretty good job of that, where I can say something amusing that's kind of poking fun at their decision, but hopefully in a way that they can laugh and enjoy the moment as well. And it's a pretty hilarious, fun thing to do. Sometimes I'll look at the YouTube comments and I find it really funny that probably a solid 10% of people commenting on there don't understand it at all and just think I'm the biggest jerk. And they're like, this announcer is so rude. Like, that they don't understand like what the point of the whole thing is. But no, that's been a really funny, fun thing to do. I don't know how many I've done, probably 10 to 15 of them now over the years. And yeah, it's always a good day.
Are they still doing those?
Yeah, we just did one. I think it just came out recently. We did one in Portland this year. Mm-hmm. There's actually some epic shots in there. You should. There's a couple of throw-ins that were incredible. So if you're looking for a disc golf video to watch, that latest one has some highlights.
I will definitely check that out. That's all, because I mean, just hearing those, especially like that. Some of the early ones was well, and I hate to say this, but the champs lost. It was Paul and Hannah.
Yep, that's one of the only ones that the champs lost. Yeah, in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, because Paul. I mean, I'll tell you, when I got going, Paul was my hero. Still is. I love Paul, and I tried to throw like him, and there's only one person that can throw like Paul McBeth.
Yeah. If it was that easy, we'd have a lot more players up there. Yeah, if all you had to do was just copy him.
Yeah, I mean, he looks so effortless. It just let me just throw 500 feet. Like, oh gosh, okay.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Is there any rules that you would change?
Yeah, I think they're going to change, but clearly the time rule needs to change. So I think that we're likely to see some changes there, making that a little bit more flexible, because the 30-second thing in an open field when you're putting, that makes a ton of sense. When you're standing on the tee pad, that makes a ton of sense. When you're 100 feet down a ravine in the woods, it doesn't make any sense at all to then have that be on the same clock as every other normal shot that you've practiced before. So I think that one's probably the top of my list. And I think high likelihood that we see changes there in the very near future.
What about if you had a choice to standardize either the baskets or the tee pads, which one would you go with?
Man, I mean, I think both of them could be good for the sport. I don't know that I have a strong opinion either way. I guess for me, I would probably go baskets before tees, but I'm not a really powerful, like fast-footed thrower who slips a lot. So I don't really notice tees that much. I also don't notice baskets that much because I'm not a high-paced putter either. So spit outs aren't a big part of my experience in disc golf. So, I don't know. I think standardization is probably good and probably will eventually come as if we keep growing, and we all hope we will. But it all takes money, and it's all retrofitting courses that are already in fine condition. You got to spend a lot of money to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, to do it for the entire tour on either side, it would cost a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
Personally, certainly. For me, I would go with tee pads because I feel that can be a safety issue.
Sure.
But baskets, I kind of find it fun. I know I'm not playing for money.
Sure.
But I kind of find it fun playing on different baskets. But.
Yeah, I could see that. It's almost like in a way, it's like our equivalent potentially of like how ball golf can be like, man, these greens are fast. And to the layman, the green looks the same as the green last week. It's green grass cut short. But to the pro, the performance is like extremely different. And for us, I think that comes in the form of like wind and potentially in the form of basket changes where you're kind of like, oh, you really can't hit these ones hard. You got to change something about your pace.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I love the game. So if they don't change anything, I'm okay with it too.
Same here.
Um, it's on forehand. I mean, how did you become? I mean, maybe you, Big Germ, maybe the two biggest known forehand guys.
Yeah, I don't really know how. It was always been my preferred throw, even from being a
Mhm.
little kid, and all through ultimate. Forehand was my strongest throw my whole life. So, you know, I've always felt like it was my most accurate, best option. Uh, I think the backhand is maybe the superior throw if you could pick one. So I kind of
Mhm.
wish I was a backhand specialist, but uh, I've gotten a lot of mileage out of throwing forehands and enjoyed throwing some great forehands. And I think it's a really valuable tool. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how or why. That's just always been the one that
Mhm.
I gravitated towards.
What about your grip?
It's
Like,
like this.
see, because I'm like so,
Yeah.
and I know I see Own she throws like that, and um,
Yeah. I mean,
I can't get rid of that wobble.
sure. And it's everyone's hands are different. So
Hmm.
like you see the difference between this finger and this finger. For me, it works really easy for me to put
Hmm.
the right on top of each other.
Hmm.
But not everyone has that same ratio. So, but mine is like a claw. I like to joke that I'm stacking them on top to create one super finger stronger than the finger of any mortal man. And then I use that to power the disc.
The claw.
Yeah.
So no, I'm gonna have to try that at some
Yeah.
point.
It's
Yeah.
just right on top. So
Mhm.
they
And
turn them into a single finger if you
kind of
can. Yeah,
like.
pretty much.
Hmm. How do you keep it nose down and keep it flat?
Forehand.
Hmm.
I think part of it is about like weight shift and getting your chest forward through the throw so that you're not like you can't leave weight behind you or else
Hmm.
then that's true for backhand as well. You have to
Hmm.
commit weight forward to be able to throw nice and low. And I find the forehand is fantastic at that. I have such a easier time keeping a forehand low throughout the whole flight as compared to a backhand personally. But if you can get your weight forward, I think that helps a lot. And I think if you're struggling with making it go too high all the time, what you should practice is throwing skip shots off the ground on purpose. And that kind of teaches you how to shift your weight because if you're hitting the ground right in front of you, that's clearly going to give you that weight transfer. And then you've got to back off from there to find that perfect nose angle.
So I've heard a lot of people coming from ultimate have the problem of throwing nose up.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, do you when you come through, you like snap your wrist through it?
Oh, definitely.
Mm.
Yeah. Forehand is thrown with what I would call an active wrist, and backhand is thrown with a passive wrist.
Mm-hmm.
So backhand, the wrist is kind of locked, and forehand, there's play there, and the
Mm-hmm.
wrist, you're pushing the fingers through the rim to generate RPMs.
Yeah, I think right now my biggest issue is like when I really get the wrist through, nice, strong, penetrating shots. When it comes out a smidge early, I feel like I'm like just like little slap on it and just spinning, goes up, just crashes.
Yeah. You're probably not getting the RPMs that you need at that
Hmm.
point.
Yeah. See, not too many questions left. I don't guess. What are some of your favorite courses?
Oh man, Whistler's Bend is one of my absolute favorites. That's in Southern Oregon.
Mhm.
Milo McIver, Maple Hill.
That's one I want to play for sure.
Yeah, Maple Hill is awesome. Lots of good ones. Vermont, both of the courses in Vermont,
Yeah.
Fox Run and Brewster Ridge are both great. Uh, Krokle in Norway was maybe the best course I've ever played. I just played there this last year. That was an incredible place. Yeah, that's my short list.
Nice. Um, you know what? Let's just go right to my final question. When it comes time for you to hang it up on the pro tour, 20 years from now,
Ha.
if you could pick your final card, who would you pick to be on your card with you?
Oh, that's fun. Paul Macbeth,
Mm-hmm.
Simon Lizotte, and Nate Doss.
Oh, Nice.
kind of old school.
Mm-hmm.
But we'd be on the second card, and we'll put Gannon, Isaac, all those dudes on the first card, so we can still watch them.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, I guess, yeah,
They would watch you.
yeah. Maybe we'll switch that around. Put them on second. We'll take the lead card, and then we can still watch them play. So I'll kind of cheat and watch some of the new guys too.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be a heck of a card to watch. And again, Nate Doss, getting to watch him play this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, him and Barry Schultz, the final day at USDGC, I was like, thought I would never see them play.
Sure.
I got into watching only the last couple of years, so seeing them play, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My first disc, well, second disc, I think it was Barry Schultz disc. I think Climo was on the first one. So,
yeah.
like,
Yeah. I think people, since Nate's been gone a while, I think people maybe don't realize, but I'm 13 days older than Nate Doss.
No disrespect, Mr. Doss. He looks older than you.
Yeah, Bo, he's been in a different career, but
Yeah.
I'm the older of the two Nates.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still got something in the tank if we'll see how he enjoyed that experience. Obviously he's got his son. I don't expect him to like come back to the Pro Tour, but I think it was exciting for everybody to have him there at Winthrop again. And obviously one of the greatest to ever do it.
Mm-hmm. Who is it? I keep thinking of questions because I'm stupid, but who were some players that you looked at and go, man, that was a really good player and people just don't know?
The
first name that came to my mind was Will Schusterick.
Well, if anybody's doing any research, they know about him. He was Gannon Burr before Gannon Burr. He won 3 United States championships by the age of like 22.
Yeah, I just think people today, they're like, who's this guy?
No, they probably don't know.
Most of them are COVID babies.
Yeah, sure. But he was phenomenal. He got injured, unfortunately, and never really was the same player after he trying to work through injuries. And I think he's content where he is now. But he was the number.
Injured. I just thought he was like, you know what? It's not paying off for me.
He was the number 1 player in the world, clearly, for a time. So, yeah, he's incredible. There's lots of guys, if you go back far enough in history, that people would have no idea about that were phenomenal players. But yeah, Will, obviously, Will is still, even with his short career, you could probably make a decent argument and put him in the top 10 players of all time, even though he didn't get the kind of years we all hoped he would.
Somebody I met at USDGC, Shelly May was playing with Cam Rico and his dad Steve Rico.
No, Bomba Rico, right? His dad,
Steve Bomba Rico. Yes,
Bomba is Steve's brother. Bomba is Cam's dad.
I'm wrong. My bad. Yeah. Okay.
Steve's Cam's uncle.
Oh.
Bomba is Cam's dad. But yeah, the Rico family. Bomba and Steve were great pros. Steve especially. And still great players from Southern California. But yeah, that was cool having a Rico in the field. It's been a little while since there's been a Rico from that family playing disc golf at the USDGC. Yeah,
he's 19 and he's got a good snap on those throws too.
Of course.
Definitely looking forward to see where he goes. That's pretty awesome. I got nothing else.
All right.
I got nothing else. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just everyone missed the first 18 minutes. That's on me. Oh well. Yeah. I would love to have you back sometime. I had an absolute blast.
Sure.
If you're up this way sometime, well, I guess next year you'll probably be up this way for the Pro Tour Championship.
Probably not, actually, because I usually do the announcing from Oregon. So we'll see. If the studio is still in Oregon, then I'll be here. But yeah.
Oh, darn. That's having to meet you and take you over to Peaks View Park and get around in.
Oh, there you go.
I love that little course.
Nice.
All right, man. Thank you so much for being here. No one had any questions today, mainly because the first 18 minutes was on me.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you so much. And anything else?
No, that's it for me. Thanks.
And you guys have an incredible day.